What's cracking, y'all? You are now watching Boo TV. Appreciate you for stopping in. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell, stay notified, and let's get into the topic for today. What's cracking, everybody? Back with another Larry Bird interview. This one recommended to us from Ledabo. I hope I'm saying your name right. Ledabo or Leadabo? One of the two. Let me know in the comment section how to properly pronounce the name. But this one is called I'm the Guy Who's Going to Hit the Shot, an uncut interview from Larry Bird's final NBA season from the NBA channel. Now, the fantastic supporter and subscriber also said to me when recommending this video, NBA great interview with Larry Bird in his final season. I've seen part of this interview around and finally found basically the full interview. I did look briefly, but I don't think that you did this one, Boo. Thought you would really enjoy this one. So, I was kind of like, man, I feel like I've checked out every Larry Bird interview on the internet. So I went back through my Larry Bird files of reactions and I didn't come across this one, but strangely, when I clicked the link to the video, it didn't start at the beginning of the video. It started like 35 minutes in, which tells me that at some point I saw this and clicked it and maybe fast forward or skimmed it or looked at it. But on this channel, I have not reacted to it. I could not find this one in my library, but it's vaguely familiar. So either way, I appreciate you. This interview is about 48 minutes long, folks, so it should be a nice one, a long one. Grab a beer, grab a drink, grab some tea, grab some crackers, whatever. Sit back, relax, and enjoy. Let's get into it.
Well, it was good. We knew that the townspeople were behind us, but to what extent, you have no idea until you came back that one day. They were lined up all over, and everybody from Terre Haute and the surrounding area came out and greeted us. And even though we lost, they were grateful to us because we put their Terre Haute on the map as far as basketball, and they thought that at the time they have a good future and they was going to have a team they could go root for year after year. And to me, it was something very special because I went in there and they had like a 13-13 season, and all of a sudden you go from having 2,000 and 3,000 people at your games to people can't get tickets, and it was an accomplishment for all of us.
Do you think people, I mean, everyone loves a winner, right? But do you think the fact that you were kind of one of them, I mean, you weren't like a transfer from Ohio State, or I mean, you were in Indiana, and you think there was like a special pride in that?
I don't think so. I think they were just starving for a great basketball team, and the way that I came in there and stood out my year and nobody really heard about me, and then all of a sudden the press and the media are coming from all over to Terre Haute to watch our team play. I think that caught everybody by surprise. Then all of a sudden when they found out they had a great basketball team to go with it, everything just fell into place. And it was not only good for the college, it was good for the community, and it was good for the players. Everybody involved. It was just something that happens once in a life.
What about, all right, so you still got to sign with the Celtics. Is that whole, whatever, that 100 Days War, and pick Bob Wolf as your agent. Were you worried when he was negotiating that it wasn't going to get done? I mean, were you concerned?
Not at all. I felt that I did what I had to do as a basketball player. Now it was left up to the Celtics to show how much they wanted me. And it really didn't matter because if they didn't take me, or if they didn't, not take me, but if they didn't sign me, I was going to go back in the draft again. And I really wasn't worried about it. I wanted to play for the Celtics because they're the ones that took the chance on me, waiting a year and then trying to sign me. But negotiations are negotiations, and just nothing that I could do about it. So I left it all up to Wolf, and from that point on, he took care of it.
Were you aware of the Celtic tradition?
Not at all. I can remember Bill Russell and the names, but I never did watch him play.
So it didn't impress you at all?
Well, the only thing that really impressed me is that the Celtics took me and waited a year. I just couldn't believe they would do that.
So you kind of wanted...
I'm going to let you guys know now, I'm going to be pausing and making my comments because if I wait till the end of the video, I'm just going to forget, and I don't want to be sitting here writing things down while they're talking. So, Larry's always been a super honest guy. And I love the honesty there. There's so many times when players get drafted to teams and they be like, oh, do you know about the history or about the greats that used to play for this franchise that just drafted you or you just got traded to? So many people lie. So many people lie when they answer that question, act like they know about this person or a lot about them. Larry just kept it 100. Like, listen, man, I heard of the names, but I really wasn't watching them. That's just real. That's real. Not everybody is an NBA historian. You're not doing anything wrong if you haven't heard about somebody or you didn't watch somebody during a particular time.
To repay them for their loyalty.
Right. I thought it was awful low for somebody to wait a year without trading me or taking a chance that I wouldn't sign with them. I thought it was very low, and I had to give them first opportunity.
The turnaround you had, that team had, was one of the best in basketball history at the time. It was. You come in with the tag. Everyone thought you were great, but you had those can't jump, too slow, whatever. How did you feel about that?
It didn't really bother me because I made the same transition from high school to college, and even in college I had to sit out a year. So I felt that once I got to the pro level, all I had to do is learn the officials and learn the style of play that the Celtics want me to play. And I can remember Red says one time said if he can average 6 or 7 rebounds a game, that'd be great. Because we know he can score and we know he's pretty active on defense. He can make some things happen. And we know he can pass. But if he can just get us 6 or 7 rebounds, we'd be happy. Well, I always thought rebounding was one of my strongest points. So I was thinking, well, I'll have trouble rebounding. But after the first exhibition game, I knew it was no problem at all.
I was going to make a comment about that, and he pretty much said the same thing that I was going to say, because I remember in another Larry Bird interview, he was basically saying along the lines of, hey, I just knew, I'd have to figure this league out when I got into this league, and he had said, he's like, it didn't take me long to figure this league out. Basically, he came in pretty much dominating from the start. Bird came in with the business and the magic. So yeah, he pretty much just said the same thing with regard to rebounding right there. But yeah, the most BS narrative out there, commonly used by young folks today. Larry Bird slow, Larry Bird can't jump. Oh, you couldn't put Larry, he'd get toasted in today's NBA, this, that, and that. Please. Y'all don't know basketball.
Do you think that the guys were going to give it to you because, with all the press and stuff and the veterans, who's this guy, who's this savior and all this stuff, and you think they were, do you think they were going to test you early?
They did test me. They do. Every rookie comes in there. It's just unfortunate for me. There's a little bit more of them. A few more guys showed up. Had Roby, had Cowens, Tiny Archibald, and some of the other vets. ML Carr showed up at rookie camp, and they all wanted to test me, and they did.
And how'd you feel you handled yourself?
Did well. I had no problem with it, because some of the guys were on my team, and the other guy, ML, was matched up against me. And at the time, he led the league in steals, and I knew he had quick hands, but he was just too short. He couldn't guard me.
What about as you guys started playing and everyone who we've talked to on that team says that your passing was infectious and contagious. I mean, and I want you to talk about your game a little bit, if you can. Like, what about passing and the thrill you get from it, and the whole big deal about that?
Well, the thing about passing, I always try to set my man up with a fake, and I always thought that if you're going to be a good passer, you have to put him in a triple threat position, which is you can either dribble, or you can shoot it, or you can pass it. And that's what I try to do. Every time I get the ball, I try to get in a position where I can see everybody on my team, and I can either dribble off the move or I can take the shot, and it makes the pass a lot easier. So when I first came in, I knew I had to work on my range because I figured that teams would be putting a smaller guy on me and trying to get me to receive the ball out a little bit further on the court. So I started working on my range a little bit. Then if they backed off of me, I could fake like I was going to shoot and dribble around them. Then in the NBA, once you dribble around, the center always comes to the ball when you get it down low. And once he started coming at me, the passes were easy to make. And that's what happened. We had Dave Cowens playing from 15 feet out on the court, And just as soon as I start to drive, I could just kick off to him for a wide open 15-footer. And, passing it was really easy back then because I was a little bit quicker back then, and I could try about anything I wanted to. So passing was the easy part of it.
It's easy when you explain it, though, But like, how come more people don't do it? Like, why are you so good at it?
Well, because a lot of guys don't want to be good at it. I feel that there's a lot of good guys in this league, in our league, that can really pass a basketball, but in our league, points are what makes you the money. And if you just the difference between 15 and 17 points is a lot of money. So that's one basket. So that's one basket that you got to go out there and try to get. And that's why they don't want to pass, because they want to shoot it.
Red said that when he drafted you, he knew you were going to be good. He didn't think you were going to be great, or how great you were going to be. Certainly was surprised. He said that the thing that he admired most about you was your toughness. What do you attribute that to?
I don't know. Like a lot of injuries, people's pain threshold are different. Some guys will dislocate a finger and go ahead and play with it. Some guys can dislocate a finger and be out 6 weeks. I think it's just something within your body that some guys have a good pain threshold and some don't. But to me, I was just so glad I got the NBA and made it. I didn't want some little injury messing up my whole season, so I try to play through a lot of them.
Little injury. Larry's such a humble guy. Larry Bird played through some of the craziest stuff, things that today that he went through. The players wouldn't want to step back out on the court. The team doctors wouldn't even let these guys step back out on the court. But Bird and other players of his generation as well, they said, hey, as long as I got air to breathe and I could run up on this court, I'm going to do it. Hell, if I got an army crawl up this court, I'm going to do it. It took a double Achilles surgery after trying to play in the beginning of the season to put Larry out and recover. Double Achilles, bone spurs. Kobe Bryant was the last gritty, played-through injury warrior. We have it. I don't think we will ever see another one like that. Kobe was the last.
Say, especially he always says that a lot of people play to come to play. You play to win.
Win.
What is that? Could you expound on that a little?
Well, a lot of guys come in there just to put their stats up and go on. It's like a job. To me, it's like if you're going to be there, you might as well win the game. And that was the attitude of a lot of guys we had on the team my first few years. Not well we do now, too, but we was a little bit younger then. If we had a chance to win a ball game, we try to win it. And the only way they was going to beat us if they blew us out from the beginning to the end. So I always felt, and we always say it before we go out there, say, hey, we got to be here for 2 or 3 hours. We might as well make the best of it, and that's what we try to do.
What about the guys? You started playing a couple of years, and I know people in the Celtic family, they don't go away. Like Heinzen's the broadcaster, so is Kuzi and Red's around. People are around, and people started saying, Bird's a throwback. He's a, Cowan says, oh yeah, because he's one of those guys, and Havlicek comments. I mean, how did that make you feel when they said that?
Well, I sort of wish I was playing with them because they won a lot more championships back in, but I don't know. I had an opportunity to play with Dave, and I really enjoyed it. But as far as being a throwback, I don't know. I think because all them guys back then were tough. Them guys back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, they played to win, and that's what I try to do. So maybe that's what they mean by being a throwback. Come to play, you play hard, and when the game's over, you get ready for the next one.
How important do you think it was, for you to be, especially, it seems like when you're a Celtic, there's a level of expectation that it's not there for other franchises, especially how important do you think that is for you as a player and for the other guys?
It's very important, and there should be a level that you're supposed to play at. Once you put on a Celtic uniform, the Celtics, now that I know their history and everything, are the only team that I know of that can win championships 10 or 11, 12 times in a row. and it'll never be done again. They're the greatest sports franchise ever put together in basketball, and they've done something that they'll never be topped again. So once you put that uniform on, there's a lot of pride in that uniform. If there wasn't a lot of pride, them guys wouldn't win that many championships. So every time you go out there, you better come to play.
Do you think it raises the guys, like, or you know?
I think it raises some guys. Some of these guys that we get that played on other teams that weren't successful, it's just like putting on another uniform. But to the guys who want to play and want to win and want to do the things it takes necessary to win, believe in it.
How about you?
I don't believe in it. No, I believe in it, and I could tell just as soon as I started playing for the Celtics what it stood for.
It's 1983, and you guys got swept by Milwaukee. And, you know, it's been 2 years since that championship in '81.
Mm-hmm.
Did you kind of rededicate yourself that summer?
Not really, but I never been through a season like that. We had our ups and downs, and we went in that Milwaukee series and lost the first 2 games at home, then go down to Milwaukee and lose 2, and really never had our mind in what we was trying to accomplish. And I really didn't rededicate myself. I just tried some things new that summer that the following year it worked for me.
It's one of those things. I think I would have probably answered that in a similar fashion because it's like the dedication never stops. Like, to rededicate myself means I would have had to stop dedicating myself at some point. But the dedication never stops, you know? So, yeah, just try some, you know, things different, but the dedication is on full throttle, 100%.
Yeah, you won the MVP for the first time, and kind of like a set off a 3-year MVP stretch. Do you think you got better, like when you like see yourself playing in '84 as opposed to like '81, '82? Could you do more things on the court?
Well, I matured a little bit as a player. I learned the game a little bit more. I think during exhibition season I came out with a little bit more determination to start the season right then instead of waiting until first game. But the whole team picked their game up a level, and we came back with a fresh attitude, and we started off that year and had a very good year. Then beat the Lakers in 7 games, and from that point on, it was just, you know, we had different determination. We knew what it took to win again. We had a team there when we won in '81. I thought we was going to win 5 or 6 in a row because we had that much talent. Just unfortunate for us, after we won the championship, we just started going downhill a little bit. And we knew we had the talent, and then we had to start picking it up, and we did.
In '84, before you played the Lakers, was there something? You know, you played Houston in '81. I'm sure it's always exciting to be in the finals. But was there something extra special about that?
Not really. Playing in '81 was a big thrill. It was a tough series. Moses was on a tear all year, and you win that first championship. That's very special. So I can't take nothing away from that.
Were you excited about playing Magic against Magic?
Well, I was excited being in the finals, but playing against Magic, yeah, that was something that I always dreamed about since he beat us in college. And you know, the first game we win by a large margin. They come back and beat us second game. Third game they beat us by 30-some, 32, and the fourth game we beat them. Fifth game we blow them out. And sixth game we go out there and have a 15-point lead and blow it. And get down to the 7th game. You know, that's what it's all about. And one game for the title, and it was on our home floor. So I can remember we didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but we played hard. We got to all the loose balls. We did the things that was necessary for us to win.
You know the famous quote from you after Game 3 when whether you did or didn't call guys, you said we're playing like a bunch of sissies and stuff. Like, why'd you say that?
Because we did. We got beat by 30, and they just drove by us, and they got every loose ball. Rebounds would pop out of our hands, and I didn't say them guys. I said we as a team. We're playing like a bunch of sissies. So, and that's kind of, I didn't do it to fire the guys up. I just said what that I thought was true at the time. I thought we played like a bunch of sissies. We just didn't do the things that it took for us to win a championship. And, some of the guys probably got upset about it, but deep down I think that the next time we went out to play, we got every loose ball was out there, and we got a lot of rebounds, and we won the game. So.
Think anything to do with Kevin Conner and Kurt Rambis?
I don't think that had much to do with it. I think that the game was was played in a fashion that we came out to play. The third game we didn't. They blew us out. The fourth game we came out with more determination and we won.
Magic had said that in '79 he remembers your reaction when you lost the championship. You know, there's that famous shot. You had your head in the towel. You were really upset. And he said he thought about it. Did you, after it was over, and you know, he had a kind of a bad series down the end. A lot of people blamed him for losing the series, whether he did or didn't. Did you feel bad for him, in a way?
Not really, because, you know, he was one up on me, and I wanted to win a NBA championship. But I really didn't feel bad for him. I know Magic can take care of himself. You know, at that time, I always thought that Magic, and still do, thought he was the greatest player I ever played against. And I knew he'd be back, and I knew he'd come back strong. So, you know, guys like Magic, you just sort of look at them. If they look sad, you sort of want to do something to help. But I know the following year he was going to come back, and he did.
You dedicated that championship to Terre Haute after the game, after the season. Why'd you do that?
Well, because I stand in the summers, and we went through such a rough period after we lost to Michigan State, and I always felt that if I ever got another chance to play against Magic, if he beat me again, it was just that he was a lot better at the time. But once I beat him, I knew everybody in Terre Haute wanted me to beat Magic Johnson and the Lakers, because it's just like Indiana State and Michigan State playing all over again, and that's one reason I did it.
You know, how do you feel about that when people say, oh, you know, Bird came to the Celtics in '80 and Magic came to the Lakers, and, you know, by the way they play the game and they make people better, they revitalize the league. I mean, how does that make you feel when people say that?
Well, we had a lot to do with it, but there's also a lot of other players in the league that had a lot to do with it. The NBA was supposed to be the game of the '70s, you know, and it didn't pan out. Of course, it was better than it was in the '60s, but Magic, timing is always the greatest thing. We came in at the right time. Well, he won the championship in '80. We won it in '81. I remember in '81 they had a delayed telecast at 11:30 back here to see the finals on TV. Of course, it was played at 8:30 out there, so you can listen to it on radio. But I always thought that was sort of bad for the league. I thought if we was going to make it as a big time league, I thought we had to have our games on prime time. Then the following years it started coming. And, of course, we had a lot to do with it, but because at that time our teams were making to the finals. But there's a lot of great players in our league. A lot of people should pat themselves on the backs, because it took a lot of hard work to get the NBA where it's at today.
Shout out to Dr. J for holding it down. The life support until Magic and Larry arrived on the scene and kind of led the charge. But Larry's consistently said that when everybody try to just pin it on him and Magic for, you know, pushing the NBA forward into a better light, into a better direction, Larry has consistently said it's not just us two. There's a lot of other things at play here collectively. He's a humble guy.
In '85, you won the MVP again. You didn't win the championship, though. Is that an empty feeling, a little bit?
Yeah, it is. The MVP didn't really. After you win one, to me, it really don't mean that much to win another one. The thing that you try to go for is the championships, because once you win an MVP award, it's yourself. You're by yourself. Once you win an NBA championship, the whole city's involved. All your Celtic fans around the country, and the whole city. It's just something that's an unbelievable feeling, because it seems like your team, the team that you're on, brought this many people together in a short period of time. It's just amazing what a championship will do for you.
The '86 season, you guys were unbelievable. I mean, in '84 and '85, you great also. But this thing, something, the way you guys played in '86, it was just like poetry in motion. You know, getting Walton and Kevin was clicking. Ainge was every year got better, and you know, DJ is always great. But what was about that team? Was it how pleasurable was it to play on a team that really moved?
I've always felt that, and still feel that that's the best team I've ever seen in this league. I'm sure Magic's got a team he liked to throw up against it, but to me personally, I thought that's the best team ever assembled since I've been in the league. The main reason is because Bill Walton made the second unit better than what they really were. You know, I mean, Scotty Webbin's a great shooter. Jerry Sisting's a great point guard and a good shooter wide open. You know, when he got in there, whoever played with him, he'd get the ball to you. All you had to do is cut and move, and if you get open, Bill would get the ball to you. Plus, Bill led the league in rebounding per minutes played that year. You know, he'd come in and play 12 minutes and get 9, 10, 11 rebounds. So everything that went up on the defensive board, he'd get it. He started off fast break. The guys wasn't really talented, but once we came out of the game with maybe a 4 or 5 point lead, by the time we went back in with rest, we have an 8 or 9 point lead. So that was the difference of that team. And the whole year, I think we just lost one game at home, and that was against Portland. And they beat us from beginning to end. Nobody was clicking that day, and they had everything going. So we was beating teams 20, 25 points at home every time. And it just the main reason is because Robert got plenty of rest, and when our subs came in, we get our lead to go up instead of down.
In the Houston series, it seemed like you really like you had it all. I mean, you were backing Rodney McRae in and doing lefty shots, and you just seemed like you could do whatever you want. Did you feel that way?
Well, in some of the games, yeah. What I always do, I go out and I test and see how my shooting is going, because I can tell right away if I'm going to be on or off. And in some of them games, if I got Rodney in a position I wanted to get him in, I knew I could take advantage of him, because I was always waiting for him to double team me. If I get the ball down the low post and they throw it into me, and the guy starts running at me, double team me, I always feel like I got the upper hand, because I can make the pass to the open man.
Yes.
And that's what it was in that series. When they tried to double team me, we made them pay. When they didn't double team me, I could hit the turnaround shot, and that's what we was going for. We ran that play probably 200, 300 times.
It seemed like
I've seen extensive Larry Bird footage, and I can say you will consistently see Larry Bird absolutely mutilating, destroying double teams. Whether he attacks a double team before the second defender can fully engage on him, or destroying the double teams with inside of a hard trap corner, still finds a way to put the pass through or get around it. It doesn't matter. However you want to, however weak or strong or late or early or on time the double team was, Larry has consistently mutilated them. I'm talking about the passes, the nutmeg between the legs, the behind the back, the over the shoulder, the curl spin baseline, the throw it over their head, bring it back, they turn around. Where did he go, George? Where did he go, George? Yeah. Consistently.
I'm sorry. It seemed like that was a classic example of you guys. I mean, those guys were tremendous athletes, Akeem and Ralph and Rodney and all those guys. But you guys really it seemed like you guys were toying with them as a team.
Not really. We since we played 2 games at home, and we had to go out there for 3 games, we felt that we had to win 1 game out there. The third game out there we had a big lead, and they came back on us and beat us at the end. I think we had a 14, 15 point lead in the third quarter, and everything was just going right for us, and all of a sudden they come back. Then the next game was a real big game for us, and we won that game down the stretch. Bill Walton was in there at the end, and Kevin McHale, myself, and we started moving the basketball real well and got some easy baskets, and Bill hit a little turnaround up over his head to put us up. And that was a game we had to have, because we didn't want to come back home down 3-2, because there's a bunch of great athletes, and they had Robert Reed at guard. If he gets hot, anything can happen. So we won that game. Then the next game was when all the brawling, the fighting went on.
Yeah. I want you to talk about how people describe you and your feelings on that. Like when they say you make people better, your teammates better. What does that mean? What do they mean by that?
Well, I don't know. Usually the guys that say that are the guys that I usually pass to. It's hard to say. I think that in our league, if you got a guy that you can go to and he can produce for you whenever you need points, like to me, Kevin McHale is the best example I have, because when I get in trouble, Kevin McHale is always there to release trouble for me. If a guy's on me real tight and Kevin's down low, I can throw the ball just about anywhere and he'll get it and put it in, make it look real simple. So I think that's sort of how some of the guys feel about me. If they get in trouble, they know they can go to me if they need 2 points, and that's basically the way that it's happened over the last few years.
What about you? You're taking the last shot. You know, we hit so many game winners. What's your feeling about wanting the ball at the end of the game?
Well, like I say, and it never really bothered me before, but I really can care less of what people think. I always say that if I go out and spend a half hour or 40 minutes before a game and shoot around, that I should have the upper edge on everybody else, the people who don't do it, because I consider myself one of the better shooters in the world. And if it comes down to the last second shot, I would rather be taking that shot, because over a period of a whole year, you get in the playoffs, I've probably taken, 200,000 or 300,000 more shots than one of my teammates. Now, would you want to go to him, or would you want to go to the guy who's taking that many shots over that course of a year? So I always feel that I'm the guy they should go to, because I feel I'm the guy that's going to hit the shot.
Kobe Bryant expressed himself in a similar fashion when he was like, hey, I see what the hell's going on behind the scenes. I know who's putting the work in. And if I see you ain't putting the work in, why the hell should I pass you the ball?
Why do you shoot so much all the time? Why do you practice so much?
Because I feel that if it comes down to the last shot of the game, I should be the one to be able to take it and hit it. Because if you're going to be good at anything, you got to practice. And I always feel that the only way you're going to get better is go out there and shoot and get your rhythm. And, I go out there some days, and I can go out there right now and hit 80 to 90% of my shots. But in the game situation, you got to get to where you can hit them shots under pressure. And that's where I think that you eliminate the men from the boys down at the end of the game.
Do you ever get tired?
It's a big difference. Now, we all know J.J. Redick is a scumbag. I'm a lifelong Laker fan. I'm absolutely disgusted that J.J. Redick is now our head coach. However, before that, when J.J. Redick was talking about three-point shooters and saying Larry Bird isn't one of the greatest three-point shooters or the best three-point shooter, I can't remember exactly. And then J.J. Redick it's just numbers. It's just numbers, doggy. It's just numbers. Just look at the percentages. But I was like, J.J. Redick, a guy that's considered a great three-point shooter. You might look at the numbers. I don't have them in front of me. But I'm assuming J.J. Redick probably shoots better from three-point per the numbers. Well, he probably thinks he's a better three-point shooter than Larry Bird. Yeah, wrong. And one reason is one guy's a role player and one guy's a damn legend, an all-star, a guy that has all the attention, a guy that can shoot the three ball from all kinds of different ways. Pull up, isolation, dribble left, dribble right, one person on, two people. It's a difference, right? J.J. Redick is the guy that was relying on somebody like Larry Bird to get him an open three. Larry Bird was creating for other people while getting himself open threes or contested threes and under pressure threes as the guy that people are staring down expecting you to shoot the ball. There's a big difference. So screw your numbers. And I have a lot more context to go with three-point shooting back in previous eras. So don't let me get started.
Of practicing all the time?
I do during the season. I get tired of practicing, yeah. Some days I feel we need it. Some days I feel I don't need it. And basketball's like any job. It's something that if you do it over and over and over and over, of course you're a little tired of it. And it's amazing what one day off can do, refresh your mind. Of course, I get tired of it just like anybody else would.
You ever just feel like saying, hell with it? And just...
I do during the season, during practice sometime, but not too often.
I love his honesty.
Our practices are so competitive. One thing we like to do is scrimmage. And you pick teams, you start playing, then it goes right out the window. But as far as going out there and going through drills, some days I don't feel I need that.
You have a reputation as someone who talks a lot sometimes on the court. Is that true?
No, not at all.
You don't taunt guys once in a while, or you're just looking for that mental edge kind of once in a while.
No, I practice too much, look for a mental edge. I've heard some other players say I talk a lot, but if I do, I don't hear myself.
ML said he taught you.
ML talks a lot. Matter of fact, I didn't have to talk because ML was doing enough for me from the bench.
Larry Bird trolling.
To you, what does being a teammate mean?
Larry Bird is also a troll. I actually put out a Larry Bird episode probably over a year ago. I remember I called it Trolly Bird because he be trolling people sometimes, man. Bird, you the worst, man. We all know many people consider the greatest shit talker, trash talker in NBA history.
To you.
ML Carr, perfect teammate. Best teammate that I ever had. No matter if he's sitting on the bench or is he playing, he's going to give everything he's got. I can remember ML back when we had in '84, he said, hey, if you don't want to play, come over and sit down. I want to play. You know, and he was sort of a coach on one end of the bench. We had our other coach on the other end. And ML would taunt guys on the floor and get them mad, so you know you had to play harder to keep this guy from embarrassing you. But ML is the type of guy in practice, no matter if he played 3 or 4 games in a row, in practice he was hungry every day. And he made me a better ball player because he would come at me every day. And perfect teammate. And when he left, I knew that the Celtics would never replace him, and they haven't.
How important is being a good teammate to you, or just in general terms, and loyalty?
Well, I think loyalty and coming to play and getting along is probably the most important in some areas. You know, I don't care how I get along with the guys off the court or what they do or where they go, just as long as when the time comes, just come to play. And I can remember KC telling us one time, and he sort of has the same philosophy as I do. He said, I don't care what you guys do. He said, we've got a game tomorrow night, and I expect to win. Come to play. And that's basically the way you do it in the NBA. You come to play to win, and you better win.
And when you start slacking, people really start to put a microscope over you to see what you're doing outside of the game of basketball that's maybe contributing to why you are, sucking on the basketball floor, or struggling, or don't seem to be engaged. That's when people really start to put the microscope over what you're doing in your extracurricular activities.
What's the relationship you have with DJ on the court? I've always, you guys seem like you have a kind of telepathy with the passing when you're under the basket when he's out top and vice versa.
Well, I've always said, was the best player I've ever played with. Not only because he passes the ball so much to me, it's that he can make the plays when he has to make the plays. I've always said if you watch DJ play in the big games and you see him driving to the hole all the time, that means it's a big game and DJ's ready to play. If you see DJ standing around outside just passing around, that means he don't want to shoot the basketball. I mean, not that he's not in the game, he wants to win, of course. It's just that he's got a different attitude. He's a big game player, and when the big games are there, you see him do different things. And I've never seen anybody in crunch time that can go out and be 1 for 15, and the buzzer will be going down, and he'll hit a shot to win the game for you. He does it a lot.
How about the fact that you and Kevin and Robert have been together for like almost 10 years now, and you're the way you work together, and a lot of people say the best front court in history.
Well, I think we're still the best front court, no matter how old we get, because we played so many years together, and we know what to expect from each other. I know how Robert's going to roll off a pick. I know when he's going to set me a pick or a good pick. Robert gets me open for 90% of my shots, and I always tell Robert, if you don't want me to shoot the ball, don't set such a good pick, because every time I come off his side, my guy's always trailing me around, and he's already beat. So. And Kevin, like I say, all you have to do is drop the ball into him and let him do the rest. So that's why I always felt that we had the best front court, because we played so many years together. There's other teams with more talent and had more speed and can do some things better, but put the total package together, there's nobody better than us three.
Like that.
If anybody's wondering why I'm so shifty with my arms, if you've been paying attention, I'm icing both of my elbows with ice packs, so I'm constantly adjusting them.
Do you surprise yourself out there?
Not really, because just about everything I've done out there, I've done it before. We used to play a lot of horse, do a lot of different shots, and try different things, and some of the passes that I make that get through, you just see a bunch of people standing there, and all of a sudden you try and pass this guy, and you want to pass it at the defender's feet, so he can't reach down there and get his hand on it, and makes it through there. Sometimes that surprises me. But making a shot really don't, because I've done out there messing around, I've made just about everything you can possibly make.
What do you get the biggest charge out there?
Probably making a pass that, like I say, is a group of people standing there and think about it in your mind, and all of a sudden doing it just off on a spur of the moment, and it does just what you thought it was going to do. You probably
as a basketball player, somebody that used to play, I know exactly what he's talking about. There's been some assists I made, how old am I? 15 years ago, plus, more, less, whatever. I've never forgotten those dimes. They were that gorgeous. I remember them like they were yesterday.
Probably had a 10% chance that ball was going to get through there, but you sort of see the game going in your mind a step ahead of what's really happening, and once you make the pass, it worked out just like you thought it would. And go and Robert or Kevin or somebody puts it in the hole, it really makes you feel good. It makes me feel good.
So you were kind of a gambler.
I always have been. I make probably average 3 turnovers a game, so I've always been a gambler. But I also do some very dumb things. They always talk about the rookie mistakes, and I can remember one time we was playing, and a rookie made a mistake, and we had to watch the tape the next day. Well, I made the very same pass in the same situation the night before, and it wasn't my fault. But when we get the rookie doing it, it's a rookie mistake. So I still make them bad mistakes.
We're talking to Heinsohn about you. You said the thing that he sees in you that you love to do is go for the shot that breaks the other team, the big three-pointer. Can you talk about that?
Well, back in 84, 85, and 86, the three-pointers were going down. But if you get in a situation where you got like a 3-point lead with a minute to go, and you got the ball, and you're working it around, if you can hit a 3-point shot at that time, 99% of the time you're going to win the game. And
that tells you how much the NBA has changed. How much the league has changed, man. With the pace and the defensive, I guess you could say the defensive rule sets, and also the lack of defense or willingness to everything. A 6-point lead with 30 seconds left is nothing. We see it happen time after time.
I realize that. Plus, on three-pointers, a big percentage of the time you're going to get the ball back. See, Kevin and Robert are great offensive rebounders, and DJ was a good rebounder, and Danny was scrappy. So when I took the shot, I felt if I did miss it, they was probably going to get it back. So even if they do come down and score real quick on layup, you still got a 1-point lead. So you have another opportunity to do something else. But I've done that a lot of times. Try to take the three-pointer when you can break somebody's back, because the game's over there. Mentally, the team's gone. You just drain a team.
What about going into the charge of going into another arena and beating them? You enjoy that?
I enjoy that when you have the teammates and the team that want to go on the road and play. If you can get a group of guys that we had before, we love to go on the road and play basketball, because that's where we got our charge of beating good teams on their court. Things have changed a little bit now. We struggled, last year a little bit on the road, and we struggled this year at home a little bit. So it's a different atmosphere. But if you can go out on the road and beat some good teams, that's what basketball is all about, because you're playing in front of their crowd. We used to love to hear the crowd holler and scream real loud, and all of a sudden just stop it real fast. If you make something happen, like they go from 5 points down to 1 point up, and you come down and hit a three-pointer, you can just take the crowd right out of the game like that. And that's what we used to try to do. We used to try to beat teams so bad on the home court that next time we came in there, they knew they was going to get beat.
What about, I just want to ask you, I was thinking about what to ask you about the steal, against Isaiah, and I almost don't even know what to say. What do you think that's the greatest play you've ever made, like in a clutch situation?
I don't know. I think it's probably one of the luckiest plays I ever made.
Okay. Well, do you get a
maybe a little bit luck involved, based on Isaiah Thomas's decision, but also Larry Bird had to do with a bit of that manipulation. Kind of baiting him into that pass, and just some quick reflexes and everything else. Just real good smarts on Larry Bird's behalf, man.
Get a charge thinking about it, like.
Not really. I get a charge when I'm tell somebody on the opposing team that I'm going to hit the last second shot and then do it. That's what it's all about. Making a steal at the end of the game that you had no idea or really had no chance of doing. Really don't give me a big thrill. I'm glad I did it, of course, and I'm glad we won. But that's another thing about DJ. You know, you make the steal and all of a sudden you're stuck in the corner. And it clocks down to 2 seconds, and you just happen to look up and see he's smart enough to run to the basket. I guarantee if you look on that tape, nobody else on the floor at that time probably made a move to the basket on our team. So, I mean, that's what it's all about, just having 2 guys. Just as soon as he seen that I had a chance to steal it, he broke for the basket. The game was over.
Love that play because before the inbounds pass, Dennis Rodman and some other Pistons celebrating, thinking it's over. Larry Bird still, DJ layup, and immediately after hitting that layup, DJ goes straight to defense. Doesn't even think him, don't celebrate nothing, goes switch, like a relay switch. Whoosh. Defense. Guarding the baseline. Inbound pass.
You know, it seems like, you know, the last few years, Celtics, you know, they're not, you're not that level you were from 82 to 87 or whatever. And you're still a good team, but it seems like with you, it almost doesn't matter. I mean, you're still doing some amazing things, like the duel with Dominique and you know, almost winning that game in '87 against the Lakers in Game 4 when you hit that shot. Is there like a, regardless of the situation, an attitude that you bring to the game?
Well, I always try to bring the same attitude. The thing that I try to do is prepare myself to play. There's nothing I can do about, you know, how well somebody else is going to play. So I've learned, I used to worry about everybody. Is Maxwell going to come to play tonight? Is Robert going to come to play tonight? Or is these guys going to be on their game tonight? But there's no use me worrying about it. You know, that was my first couple years in the league. Once I found out about the league, the only guy I got to worry about if he comes to play is myself. And that's what I try to do. I just try to go out there and play as well as I can. And not individually or anything, just go out there and prepare myself to play 48 minutes.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of bring it around the French Liquor. I know you came in with, you labeled yourself, I think, the Hick from French Liquor, if I'm not mistaken. Did you do that?
I didn't know. That was a self-imposed nickname by Larry Bird.
I mean, you're obviously much wiser, and everyone we talk to says, don't Larry, he's
No, I just said that. It just came out.
But, you're like the only athlete or who associates himself with his hometown. Do you think that's kind of unusual?
Well, like I said, when I grew up, I never went away from French Lick, so this is all I really knew. I went to Hobart in the summer for a month, but that's as far as I journeyed out of French Lick. So it's not that I think this is the greatest town in the world, but it's my hometown. This is where my family and friends are, so it's important to me.
Do you think that in a way, can you compare Boston in a sense to French Lick?
No.
Like kind of like the community that you formed there, like in a way, is it?
Well, I have my friends in Boston, but it's completely different. And when I go back to Boston, I'm glad to get to Boston. Once the season's over, I'm glad to get home. And that's why I built my house and everything down here, is because I'm sort of a private guy and I like to be by myself. And when I get ready to do something, I don't want to stop at the store and sign 300 autographs. I want to go and get to where I'm going. And down here, it's to a level where it's very minimal.
When you were growing up, what were your aspirations when you were like a little kid? I want to be a fireman. If someone would say, if someone would have told you then what would have happened now, what would you say?
I really don't remember. I'm sure that somewhere down the road I wanted to play sports, but back then I really didn't know much about it, so I can't really remember.
What imprint do you think you've implanted on the game of basketball?
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's like the question where they ask you what you want on your grave. What you think people should, when you die, what people should think of you as. And it's tough because I don't think I really implanted anything. Basketball is always going to be there. And 10 years from now, there's going to be somebody better than me, bigger than me, stronger than me, and play well. It's just like comparing me to Rick Barry. Rick Barry had his own style, and I have my own style. But while I'm playing the game, I want to be considered one of the best because, you know, I like to play against Dominic, Magic, and I want to play on the same level as them guys. And that's what it's all about, competing every night against the best players. And that's why I hope when I get out, people say, well, he competed every night, and he did pretty good.
You know, it's funny because Indiana is, you know, whatever, the hotbed of basketball, one of the 2 or 3 in the country. And Boston is the, you know, has the most tradition of all basketball franchises. You think it's a coincidence that you grew up here and you were a basketball player and you played for the Celtics? I mean, it's kind of like almost like it all worked out so perfectly. Is that ever?
Well, it's worked out pretty good so far, but I don't know. I just think Red was a little bit smarter than the other guy. I think that he could read talent a little bit better than the other GMs. I'm sure that some of the GMs, if they had 15th, 16th, 17th pick, they might have took a chance if they had a pretty good team. I heard that Milwaukee was interested because they had a pretty stable team at the time, and they had 12th pick, and they was going to sort of I heard they was going to take me whether they would have or not. I just think that Red took a gamble because he had the 6th and the 8th pick that year, and why didn't he wait to the 8th pick? You know, why did he take me the 6th pick? So he wanted me, and he could read talent a little bit better. You know, Red says that he don't know if I would have turned out to be an all-star player or not, but he must have seen something he liked. Because you just don't go after good players in the first round on the 6th pick.
How, you know, you talk about circumstances that shape your character or whatever. How important do you think are the hardships that you've had to overcome? Maybe your background or whatever.
Well, I think it's as you mature, you start to respect all that. As growing up, you don't realize that you don't have anything because you never had it in the first place. But, you know, making some money and looking back, I remember all of it. And I don't want to be like that again.
What about your relationship with the fans in Boston and they're relating to you as kind of like a blue-collar player and everything like that? Do you like that?
I always try to play hard, and I know when I go out there and play basketball, after the game I can tell how hard I played that night because how sore I am the next day or how tired I am after the game. And very few times have I got up the next morning and really got up and feeling great. You know, I always have some stiffness, I always felt bruised and banged around, and some days I just don't feel like getting out of bed because I'm so tired. But I probably, over all the games I played, I can probably remember back to 5 or 6 games that I felt that I didn't play as hard as I should have played.
Do you think that's...
Played harder back then. Played harder. They dealt with more punishment, more physicality. Yeah. The treatment wasn't as good. The rehab wasn't as good. The shoes weren't as good. Nothing was for comfort back in the day. These guys are just warriors, man. Shout out to Bird, man.
That's a reason for your popularity?
I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think just coming in there and having success right away.
I'm going to rewind because I kind of paused in the middle of his question, so I didn't really get it.
Over all the games I played, I can probably remember back to 5 or 6 games that I felt that I didn't play as hard as I should have played.
Do you think that's a reason for your popularity?
I don't know. There's a lot of things. I think just coming in there and having success right away has a lot to do with it.
You're always like, you know, you always say, oh, there's Bird on the floor again, and guys always say, you know, when he plays so hard, he makes it hard for the 12th guy not to play hard. I mean, that's true.
Well, that does. That's the one thing that carries over to the whole team. I can remember when I first came in the league, Artis Gilmore told me one time, he played for Chicago, he said, if you expect to play a long time in this league, you better quit mopping up the floor. And I thought, well, he's crazy because that's what basketball is all about, going after the loose balls. But getting a little bit older now and feeling the bangs and the bumps and the bruises and all that, I can see where he's coming from, but I can't change my style of play. I got to play like that every night.
You think people respond to that?
Sure they do. They respect it, because if you go down and get one loose ball that's on the ground, that could be the turning point of the game, and it has been in some instances.
Do you think you're like the in a way like the working class hero in the NBA kind of?
I don't know. There's a lot of guys that work awful hard. You know, there's guys that probably work just as hard or harder than I do. It's just that I've been doing it for a little bit longer than they have. But once I'm gone and they keep coming up, they'll say that they worked harder than I did.
How do you
Basically saying, Larry Bird, are you the people's champ?
explain your popularity then?
Well, I just think I play hard, and I've had success early in my career. We won 3 championships, and 3 championships is more than 90% of the teams in the league has won ever since they've been in the league. So I think that just going out there and getting the job done and being the focus of the team for so many years, I think that's why I have everybody looking and following my career.
Really pressing Larry with this question about why do you think you're popular? Why do you think Larry Bird's popular? Shall we go through the CVS receipt of bullets of why the hell Larry Bird is who he is, and that's why he's probably not as popular as he should be, to be honest with you. You know, I gotta remember this interview is from the 90s, so yeah. But given how people revise history and sports fans tend to have a short memory or don't want to learn about the history if he wasn't around back then they're like, they don't really talk about Larry Bird too much now unless they're trying to compare him to somebody that's they're drawing comparisons to, whether the player's playing great and he's white, like Luka Doncic, or some other reason that's a great all-around player or a great passer, and it's like, oh, it reminds me of Larry Bird. He's so cerebral, how he sees the game. Now let's talk about Larry Bird. You know? Yeah, why the hell? You're asking this humble man to explain why he's popular. Larry Bird doesn't like talking about himself, first of all. You know, come on, man. There's a million reasons why this guy is who he is and became the star that he became and carried the league for so many years, was one of the faces of the league for so many years, and was beloved by many. Come on, man.
You know, Bob Wolf said the thing about Larry is he's like the, you know, when you're friends with a guy and like when you're in junior high or something like that, and you know, you're like that's the way you look at the world. You know, your teammate's your teammate, your friend's your friend, and like a lot of people get older and they change. He says you haven't changed, and that's like the thing that he admires most about you. I mean, do you think that's true in a way?
Well, I have a lot of friends that I had back when I was younger, but the thing about that I've seen over the years is that people always says, well, is he going to change when he comes back? Has he changed, you know? But I have friends here that pretty good friends of mine before I left, and every year I come home, if I don't go up to them and say hi and start talking to them, they wouldn't speak to me all year because they're afraid I made the change. And I understand that, and you know, but every year after being in there 11 years now, it seems like they would understand, but it's just something that you have to put up with, and it's something that you have to deal with, and now that I'm a little bit older, I can deal with it. But I still have basically the same friends I always had and made some along the way, and I think loyalty and friendship and being able to get along with people and having trust in them is the biggest thing, because if you can't trust your family and your friends, you better find a new family and you better find some new friends.
You know, I know you talk about toughness a lot, and you're saying that in your book, one of the instances you remember is your father and his ankle and everything like that. You know, about always going to work when he was hurt and everything. Like, could you relate that story again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, we don't know if he broke it or he just hurt it, but had a lot of swelling in his ankle and couldn't get his boot on. We had to help him get his boot on and go to work. So, you know, to me, it would have been very easy to just say heck with it, but he knew he had to go. So we helped him get it on there, and he went to work.
Did that make a big impression on you?
It must have, because it's probably been 20-some years ago.
Is that kind of like your approach to life or your job, not life?
Well, I think that going to your job, if you can possibly get there and know you can accomplish something, you know, I wouldn't want to go out there and play for the Celtics if I knew I was going to hurt the team. But there's a lot of, just like having the flu, I've been sick and running the 102 temperature before, but once I get on the basketball court, it's all gone. You forget all about it. It's just getting yourself out there and get moving. Once you get moving, you're not sick anymore. And after the game, you get sick again, but during the game, no. And that's what I've always felt. If you can get yourself there and go out there and get going and try it, it's probably going away. But, in our league, guys, if you get in, put in the game, and you just play 3 minutes, you get taken out, that counts as a whole game, so their stats drop. And that's why a lot of guys don't try it.
Do you, you've reached, all the heights you've reached and this and that. Do you wish, you ever think, I wish my father was here to share some of this with me?
Not really. He chose his own style of life, and there's nothing I can do about it. So
the honesty.
Of course, I'd like him to be around, but he's not around. So there's nothing.
The honesty.
That when he died, when he did, and you were, I think at that time, not. I think you were home, and after was that how tough was that to deal with? I mean, do you look at that as a point in your life when things were at their lowest, kind of? Or?
Well, at the time, yeah, but there's nothing you can do about something like that. I mean, he chose the way he wanted to die, and he did it, and it's just unfortunately that some people have problems like that. But I wish he was here, but he's not. So I had to go on with my life and try to make the most of my life, just like the rest of my family has, and that's the way we dealt with it.
You say you're you're emotionally tough guy, like you're a survivor, kind of.
I'd say a survivor, but I don't know how emotionally tough I am. When you play in the NBA, you learn to deal with emotion. Because one day you can be up here, next day you're down here when you lose a big game. And you just go up and down, and you have to deal with it. And I've learned to deal with it through the NBA because you can be on that roller coaster ride for a long time.
You think you're athletes get a lot of adulation, and some justified, some not. I mean, do you think you're deserving of all the attention? And do you think you're special?
No, I think I'm a great basketball player, and it's just like anybody working in a factory. If the public loved to watch a guy build a chair or make a chair, and they would pay to watch this guy do it, it's no different than they pay to watch me. Everybody that grows up wants to be great in sports. No matter if you're in junior high or grade school, everybody wants to be a basketball, baseball, football player, or a soccer player, or any sport. It's just that the people can keep on going. And I think that everybody in America at one time during their life wants to be in sports some way. It's just fortunate enough for me that I grew and I practiced and I had the ability to get through all the tough times and made myself a good player. I'm just very fortunate. But the people who work in factories, I think, deserve a lot more credit than me. It's just unfortunate for them. They just don't get paid the salaries we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's it.
My guy said, that's it. That's all I got, Larry. Great interview. Yeah, if I've seen that one before, it might have been small bits and pieces here and there. So again, appreciate you. Lebo, I hope I'm saying your name right. I apologize if I'm not. Appreciate the support, and I appreciate you digging that up and providing it to us all to watch together. Great interview. Larry Bird, I've said it 101 times, man. The guy is just honest as hell. And people might be like, well, that shouldn't be the politically correct answer. That's not what we want to hear. I give a damn about what you want to hear. This is how I feel. You ask me a question, I'm going to give you an honest answer. You don't have to like it, you don't have to love it, but that's my honest answer. I'm not you, and you're not me. You're not in my body. You can't tell me how I should feel, or why I feel, or what I should say. This is what I'm saying. I appreciate the honesty, Bird. That's some real stuff, right? That's some real stuff. And I've always said that about people that, there's people that do really hard labor, really manual labor. And, I think people just, they're underappreciated. And people kind of take what they do for granted. And they might not get paid as much, but a lot of times physically and sometimes mentally, or physically and mentally, they do more work than I do. you know, but might not make as much as I do, right? And I always think about people like that, like somebody that's a custodian, a janitor at a middle school, a high school, whatever. I'm like, you know, people scoff at these guys because, you know, they're cleaning bathrooms or, you know, cleaning toilets, cleaning whatever hallways, you know, custodial work. And I was like, okay, well, you take that guy away. Since you don't think he's that important, you take that guy away. Now I want to see how those bathrooms that you like to use, those restrooms you like to use, those hallways, see how those things look without that person, huh? I bet after a week you probably don't want to use that restroom anymore. And now you're screening for somebody like that, looking down the hallway. I need a janitor. Who's gonna do the work? I've always looked at it like that. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn what your job is. You know, you're a difference maker. You're a difference maker. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that I had put a video out, and I remember on the cap or on the thumbnail, I put "Trolly Bird" because Bird be trolling people. I'm gonna put the link to that video in the description of this one if you want to check it out. It's a great Larry Bird video. I had a good time with it, and I had a good time with this one. Always a great time hearing Larry Bird talk, and people pick his mind a little bit, all right? I appreciate each and every one of you guys for stepping in. Shout out to the Bird Gang. And check out our Larry Bird playlist. Check out our 1980s Boston Celtics playlist. And I'll catch you on the next one. We out, baby.